Hi everyone, my name is Jazz. Everybody calls me Jazz, Jazzo. I run the Bushwick Vendors Market, which is an extension of Monster House Universe, which is a community program that we started over 13, 14 years ago. The main goal of starting Monster House Universe was to be able to give resources to children and young adults in the community, especially at that time when Bushwick was just starting to face the changes of gentrification, but not just the physical changes, but also kind of like the energy that comes in with gentrification. Because as we know, gentrification is a vehicle of displacement. And what it does, it's like it comes into our communities and it's like complete erasure. It starts to build new things, create a very loud and non-inclusive, what I would consider art, music, visual performing scene, small business scene. And what was really important for me was for me to highlight that the people that are from this community still exist. The people that are from Bushwick and neighboring neighborhoods like Bed-Stuy, East New York, and New York City in general, as we're seeing gentrification move further and out into other boroughs, that the creativity is here. The people have always been here, which is one of the main reasons people move to our boroughs. So when my son was very, very young, probably about 12, 13 years old, we were on our block, which is not far from here. It's on Willoughby. And that's when the condos first started going up. They were buying out a lot of the elders' homes for not great prices, but at that moment, a lot of these people don't know that their homes are worth way more than what they were being offered. Especially because keeping the people in the community is so important, and that's one of the most powerful messages that we want to give. So my son and his friends, all grew up on the block, New York kind of vibes, playing a lot of the games that we played when we were growing up, manhunt, tag, basketball, making their own basketball hoops on the courts. And people started complaining. A lot of the new people that were moving in, a lot of those places that were sold off and, people demolished those buildings and turned them into condos. The people that were moving into the community didn't match the culture of who we were. So it was very easy for them to complain about the things that we enjoyed, the things that brought us joy, like, sitting in the room, hearing my son dribble the basketball with his friends up and down the block, roasting each other, having fun, the ice cream truck running by, all of them coming to the window like, hey, can I get some money to buy ice cream? And just being kids. So people started complaining on the block. And I think what really put the battery in my back was this one woman had mentioned that she didn't pay that much money to hear kids play. And I was like, well, you moved to the wrong neighborhood, especially in the wrong time. This is like highlight 2013. Kids are definitely on the block playing, doing what they do on a summer day. Like, you don't belong here. It's you who don't belong here. And that made me mad. That made me upset. And one thing that people know about me is that, I get upset, I get mad, and then I want to find a solution. And one that's inclusive to all of us, because what I consider myself is like I'm voicing a concern that is not just mine. It amplifies what we feel in the community. And a lot of times we don't talk about those things up front. Like, we don't know how to talk about like whiteness coming into our communities and taking over, and what those resources look like and how they're not distributed evenly, which is what gentrification is. So little by little, the kids were getting more and more upset. People were coming up to them, threatening them, calling the cops all the time. These 12, 13-year-old kids. And that made us even more angry as parents on the block, because, it's a different experience when someone who is a gentrifier, who has a sense of class and privilege, calls the police, opposed to how we feel when it comes to the police. Like, we don't call them unless it's like an actual emergency. And even then, we're still skeptical about it. So for people to just come into our neighborhood and it was so easy for them to just be like, oh, well, I'm calling the cops, that was dangerous. And the kids were getting upset, rightfully so. They were getting mad, they were getting angry, they were starting to rebel, which none of that was wrong. I think that I felt like they needed the resources to put those stories, to talk about those experiences. So we started a youth program on the steps of Willoughby between Central and Evergreen, 992 Willoughby. We don't live there anymore. We, did get displaced ourselves. We're now living in East New York. But Bushwick is where I raised my son, and I raised the majority of the monsters that are part of the program. And those kids were able to grow up and be a part of the market experiences, which taught them how to be like young entrepreneurs. So we started the markets in 2013 as a way to make funds, to make money, so we can continue supporting the monster community. At the time, they were Educated Little Monsters. That's what the program has started as. And then it grew into Monster House Universe once we got our own venue. Um, and it was a way, like I said, I was like, okay, the area is changing. And what put the battery in my back was we went to Artists and Fleas one day, not to do anything but support. I had a friend on my block that was like, hey, Jazz, like, you ever been to a vendor's market? And I'm like, nah, never really have. And she's like, well, there's this dope one happening in Williamsburg. They've been around for a while, and we should go check them out. I was like, yeah, this is really cool. It was a Saturday. We went, and at the time I was making my own jewelry, and I had on these earrings. They were like wooden earrings that I would paint, and I would add like, metal, like jewelry. I mean, chains, just different kind of like mixed media kind of jewelry pieces. And I was really, really surprised at to how many of the vendors themselves were like, hey, I really like your earrings. Are you a vendor here? And I was like, no, but that's really cool. They're like, you should totally vend here. And it made me feel seen as like a jewelry designer because it's something that I had never put out there. So I thought it was a great opportunity for me to try to vend. It would have been my first time. Mind you, I had no I had no I had no incentive of doing markets. Like I wasn't there yet mentally. I was just showing up to look and like be a supporter and to buy. So the volume of people that liked my pieces, I was like, cool, I'm gonna apply, and I did. Applied to Artists and Fleas. A couple weeks later, I got a response saying, thank you for applying, but unfortunately, your style of jewelry doesn't fit like our aesthetic at the market. And I thought that was funny, and I thought that was interesting because I would have never tried to apply if the people from the space, like other vendors, wouldn't had tried to buy my pieces and also encourage me to vend. So I found that as a vehicle and a moment to be like, cool, take the rejection for what it is. Understandable, like I can't be mad at them for not choosing them, but I'm going to start my own market in Bushwick where it's needed. And no one was doing markets, not at the scale and not the type of markets that we were doing. So we did. We started them, and they were very, very small in a second floor space that was on Willoughby, right above Papa John's. And we would only have like 5, 6 vendors. And they were all like creative friends of mine. And then we would let the young people in our community, we would give them supplies to do jewelry, or they would make art. We would give them canvases. They would like revamp t-shirts, and they were between the ages of 12 and 15 years old. And then we would have all the adult vendors upstairs, and little by little every year, year by year, they would grow. We would get another space, and that's what the markets represent. The markets, for me, the Bushwick Vendors Market represents representation, making sure that the people that are from here that are also creatives, or people of color that are creatives that find it hard to get into certain institutionalized like art and music scenes. It was important for us to create that space, and for us to also keep our rates super affordable. We don't want to charge people $150, $200 a day to vend. So, we start at $25 for a half a table, and then it goes all the way up to $65, $75 depending on your setup. But we also do a bunch of sliding scale rates. So if it's in our power, then, people will email us and say, hey, I really want to be a part of your market, but I can't afford this much. This is what I can afford. And we usually do honor those requests, because our goal is to create inclusiveness, and we want people, especially people that are just starting off, that probably don't have a huge fan base, or people that are not selling things yet. Like, it's really important that those people get to be seen in these type of settings. So our markets have been through a lot. We have been fighting relentlessly in Bushwick for over 12 years to have autonomy, to own a space, to be able to keep a space. The rent in Bushwick, as most of you know, especially just in gentrified areas in general, is ridiculous. For residential, and for commercial, it's even more insane. So We've worked out of a lot of spaces. The experiences haven't always been the greatest because we do have a different influx of people that are moving in with the money and the resources, but they don't have the connections to the community. So they often tend to partner with organizations like ours in order to, to kind of get like that check off, like that oh look, they represent the community. And a lot of times they don't. They just use people like us to come in, and they are able to capitalize off of our culture and what we do. And that's happened time and time again with the Bushwick Vendors Market, where we would come in, do what we do. Once the markets get popping, well, they're miraculously like, oh, we can't do this anymore. It's not a good fit. Um, and then they'll kick us out. And then months later, they're doing the same thing. So I think that's just part of, it's hard to accept, but there's also nothing you can really do. So I think that's just part of growth and what happens when you, build something amazing. Other people are going to either champion it, support it, want to be a part of it, or just take it. So there's not much you can do. So I've learned over the years, after being hot headed for so long and just being upset, that I have to keep focusing on what matters, and that's to grow the markets. So right now, we are at 87 George Street. We've been here since January. It's been super consistent, and the markets are growing in a way that has been the biggest that they've ever been in the past, and I'm super grateful for that. It allows us to continue the markets running, but also to raise money. So we have like a pot of a fundraiser, online fundraiser on our Give Butter account. So the majority of the vendor fees go there, and it stays there until we're able to save enough money to get our own space again. So that's what the markets represent. The markets represent, you know, um, like, yes, it's great to make money, but the money is being funneled back into the community. And that's something I'm very prideful and very cocky about, is like, when you spend money with this market, you know that it's going to something amazing. Like, it's going to secure a space, it's going to a young person, being able to do a dance class, or being able to be a part of the recording studio experience, or become an artist. So I think that's great. And I'm really, really, really honored and humbled for Public Sound Studios to be able to give us this opportunity. They approached us about 2, 3 months ago and were like, hey, we're opening up one of the studios at 109. And, we would really love to support what you do. We think the markets are great. Um, and we would love to, do a couple of podcasts and get some good footage so you're able to put it out there and also interview some of the vendors. So that's what we'll be doing today. So shout out to them. Make sure you check them out. Their setup, as you can see, is really beautiful, super professional. And I think for me it's a humbling experience because there's something that comes with gentrification, which is a lot of complaining. People love to complain about something great. Uh, and when Ryan approached us, it was like, I really rock with what you're doing. I think it's really great. I have this space, and I would love to be a part of what you guys do and helping out, being able to bring this visibility with such, they worked really hard to build out this space. So that it humbled me because it reminds me that there are really good people out there that want to be a part of the cause and not the problem. So make sure you check out Bushwick Vendors Market. Just like that, we are the first artisan craft market that started in Bushwick since 2013, which is really amazing. And I know in my heart that we're going to be like the biggest market in New York. Just give us some time and let us continue to grow and thrive. And we look forward to continue to be able to put these stories out there and for people to understand what these markets represent. So thank you. Welcome back, y'all. So we're about to start the official podcast with some of the vendors that we work with in our markets. So first we have Rafiana, aka Rafi. So you have been vending with us a few times.
Yes.
I remember, right, because I'm the person that looks through all the forms, looks through all the emails, does all the corresponding. And, part of the story that I was telling earlier was like making sure that we were inclusive, especially for vendors of color and people that are from New York and from the city and do what they do. So I thought it was really, really dope when I seen the type of vendor that you were. You know, you have all the that you're a book vendor, but you're
Mm-hmm.
like specifically targeting the Latino Puerto Rican community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was exciting because as a Puerto Rican woman, I've never really got to dive into a lot of literature when it came to that genre of
Yeah.
writers. And that representation is really huge. And then learning that you also help people with like writing, trying to get more Latino people published so they
Yes.
can get on the books and tell their stories. So it was really an honor to like have you come, and then I fell in love with you. The relationship was really amazing, and then you just kept coming back and vend with us. So
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted you to take some time right now and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about your background, why you do what you do.
Of course. So our bookstore is called Body Books and Cafe. We got the books part down. We working on the cafe part.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, growing up, I grew up with a very strong, traditional Puerto Rican mom. She
Mm-hmm.
did not play. She was very strict. So it was school, home, do what you gotta do at home, and you better make honor roll. Like, she was very strict. But there were very few places that she allowed us
Mm-hmm.
to go out to and have alone time.
Super strict.
Very super strict. And one of those places was the library because she knew at the library there was not going to be any shenanigans or anything like that happening. So, in that, me and my sister used to go. And that was like, I'm walking and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're used to your classroom library was like probably a few shelves.
Mm-hmm.
This was like a whole building of books, right? And what's wild is that even while I'm like looking through and I would read and I would devour books one after the other and I would check out 3, 4 books at a time, none of them would be Puerto Rican
Mm-hmm.
or Caribbean, you know? So while I love reading, there was always that little void of trying to find myself within stories because, like, I'm a visual reader. So when I read, I could see what I'm reading in my mind, like a sort of
Mm-hmm.
like a movie, right?
Right.
But I'm never the main character because the main character that's being described doesn't look like me. So I'm always seeing somebody else. So, and it wasn't until I started my undergrad, and mind you, I didn't go straight to college after I graduated high school. I had my son when I was 20, and you got to stop sometimes pursuing your dreams and do what you got to do as a parent. But when they got older and I had a little more free time, that's when I started pursuing my degree. And initially, I wanted to go for nursing.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized when I was in my science classes that I probably would help more people not being in nursing than what I would have helped them being in nursing because I was not doing well in none of my science classes. Like, I just wasn't. So I pivoted and I'm like, all right, let me just take a few English classes during the summer and see where it goes. And I took this one poetry class and it was given by Dr. Melissa Castillo. And at the time, her name was Planas. She had a whole syllabus of nothing but Latino poets.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never seen so many stories and poems written for us, by us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, reading, and then I started writing, and I fell in love with reading poetry, writing short stories, and it just continued to snowball from there. Body books became a thing in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it without realizing that I was already doing it. And it was fueled by that one class. So I started selling like books that I would read, and I'm like, okay, let me resell this book so I could buy another one,
Yeah.
right? Because you have children and stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta watch how you move your money around.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm gonna sell this one and see which one I could buy next. And that's how I started, little by little. That people would reach out, be like, yo, do you have this book? Do you happen to have this one? And it's sort of
You
like,
became like
yeah,
the book plug,
right.
the
And
girl who has those books.
yes, but then also I started joining my school's literary magazine, and in that magazine, It was catered to all students. So Lehman College is a very diverse college in the Bronx, and there were so many amazing writers at the school. And I started off as secretary. I moved up to vice president. Then in my last year there, I was president of the literary magazine. And then that's where the love of helping people write, edit, create started evolving. And then after I graduated, I thought maybe I should go teach. And even though still do teach, because the mentorship that I do is teaching, it took a different look. I realized that the school system is very bureaucratic. There's a lot of policies that sometimes don't align with, what your passion is. And although, I'm not going to speak on that because we'll be here forever.
Forever. That's a whole different podcast.
Yeah, that's a different podcast. But I realized, okay, I got to do something. So what am I going to do? I'm going to make this, since I love this thing so much, I'm going to create this thing that's going to live beyond me. Right? And it came from a place of wanting to see myself, but wanting other kids to see themselves, and providing them a space to also write themselves into these stories, right? And that's when the mentorship program started. And it started with one person who is a poet, and she's amazing. And then while I was mentoring her, she told her friend, and then it moved on to her friend who wanted help, and then this friend introduced me to someone else, and I was helping them, and it just continued to go. And then when I go to pop-ups, I'm like, I'm just gonna let people know so that we can publish and bring them out, and so that's how this whole thing was created. And it was like, it sort of happened the way it needed to happen, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, I do, because I think that it's about what you were saying is like finding that void, filling, because you knew that void.
yes,
It was about filling that void, and you understood that at a very, very early age, which is which is the case for many of us,
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's extremely powerful for you to be able to like take that and like own it and like run with it. I was getting emotional earlier because like hearing you talk, being Puerto Rican, being Boricua, from one Boricua to the other, like, I was also pregnant at 20.
Yeah.
Got pregnant at 19, had my son at 20. And for us to be sitting here, like, running and doing the things that we're passionate about while raising those kids
Yes.
is I look at my son when he was, like, 19, 20 years old, and I was like, wow, my life was so different at that age.
Yep.
And I think that our kids, when they're younger, they don't understand the sacrifices and who we are as mothers.
Yep.
But seeing us be entrepreneurs, and as they get older, there's just something so special about that story.
Yeah.
So that's why I got emotional early, because I'm listening to you. The same thing. I didn't go to college. I didn't even graduate high school. I like dropped out when I was 17. I was like through with it. I was like, fuck school and da da da. I didn't go back to college until I was 28 years old.
Yeah.
And I went to Boricua College, and I had my son at 20, and I feel like our stories are cut from the same cloth,
Yeah.
as women, and not just Puerto Rican women, but like across the diaspora, we're as Caribbean women. So when I met you was a really crazy time in my life too, and it was a time where I was really digging deep into like my Puerto Rican roots.
Yeah.
My Puerto Rican culture. I had just got back from Puerto Rico.
Yes, I remember.
We were going back to Puerto Rico like a couple of days apart. I was trying to do chancla y sofrito,
Yeah.
which was to honor my grandmother.
Yep.
And, those matriarchs in our lives. Like when you first started, you were talking about how your mom was like super strict.
Yes.
Like it had to be school, and it had to be, and a lot of that came from fear.
Yeah.
And like you said, she wouldn't let you go nowhere. I couldn't go nowhere either. And the library around my neighborhood also became a safe haven.
Yeah.
So I think those stories are really amazing to be able to put out there. And from the moment I met you, I caught chills, like literally talking to you, and I'm super happy and excited to be able to have this opportunity, and for us to be able to do this on this platform of a level.
Of course.
Public Sounds like I said, reached out to us wanting to be able to give us a platform.
Mm-hmm.
And we deserve this.
We do.
You deserve this.
Thank you.
And I'm just super grateful for you and what you do. And I bought like books from you, and
Yeah.
I'm starting to read them. And your significance, like your presence in a space, is just so fucking dope and so
Thank you.
important. And you never know when is those times that people need to really like crash into that, which is what I've been able to do. So
Yeah.
I think one of the next things that I want to ask you is, I know that you're starting a free writing class workshop. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So this writing workshop is during the summer. It's 6 weeks. We already had our first week last Sunday.
Okay.
It's every Sunday from 11 to 12:30, and it's free.
Okay.
And we're like, it's based off a book of poems by this amazing poet who is also my mentor. Her name is Peggy Robles Alvarado.
And you have her book on your table.
I have her book on my table. Her book sells. Each and every time I bring her book, like, it just goes, because not only is she a phenomenal writer, but she's such a, like, she gives off, like, this warm presence. Like, this, like, you know how you and I connected?
Yeah.
Like, she and I connected, and she's just so, she's great. And she's phenomenal in her writing, but she's also great with getting people to write as well. It's not easy, like, to get people to find themselves in writing, because
and tell their stories.
right, because they think I need to tell this story a certain way, or it doesn't sound like a poem. What sounds like a poem? Right? You create the poem. That's what the poem is gonna sound like, is whatever you create. But she's great in having you get out of your head and be able to write and lay it all on the paper. And in this writing workshop, what we're doing is that we're diving into ancestral work. There's language, like the reclamation of Spanglish, the resistance of Spanglish, right? Because it's both reclamation and resistance. There's transmutation. There's working through grief and trauma.
Yeah.
There's maternal work that's happening too. So we have there's like body reclamation, like taking ownership of your sexuality, because that's taboo. Like, if you grow up traditional, that the
Especially
women,
Caribbean homes.
yes, like we can't be over sexualized. We can't even talk about that. Like, like that's very taboo.
We can't be sexy.
We can't
feel
be
good
yes.
for ourselves.
Or like if we know we look sexy, but we can't admit it.
No.
We have to be like, no, like, you know what I mean? But like, so we're diving into all those topics, and each week is a different topic. And you could take one and leave with something, or you could take all 6 and have, the beginnings of what is a book.
Yeah.
And our mission is to get people to write and get them to create these stories so that they can publish, whether it's self-published or traditional publishing. We just want you on the shelves.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay. And the last question is, why do you keep coming back? We all know that the markets are, as amazing and special as they are, they're a work in progress.
Yes.
And our goal is to make sure that each time that we're, able to hire people at this point because we want the foot traffic to come. And sometimes, that's not always easy, being a small business and doing a lot of this stuff by yourself. So one of the things that we've been really blessed with is like having a community when it comes to the vendors, So I'm always super appreciative that, you believe in us to continue to book with us. And the question is like, why do you keep coming back?
I come back because the community here is, like you said, is strong, and it's welcoming. And I'm someone that goes on vibes. If it doesn't feel good, I'm not coming back. If it feels good, then I'm going to keep coming back. But every time that I come back, I always bump into someone like you. Thank you for bringing these stories. Oh, my God. Like, and we'll be there talking for 30, 40 minutes sometimes about certain books, their experiences, and them sharing with the fact that they don't find themselves in books growing up as well, or even now, some people still don't find themselves in stories because it's not like these stories you find them in Barnes and Nobles.
Right.
It's not like you find them in Strands, right? But I go and I try to bring these books to different neighborhoods, and let's not forget, Bushwick and Brooklyn was one of the most heavily Puerto Rican populated neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
Okay, so was East Harlem and Spanish Harlem, and the Bronx. So we try to move through those places to let them know, like, we
We
right,
here.
right. I did one pop up, and I would never forget, and I never went back. It was in Staten Island, and they were like, Puerto Ricans don't read, and this is a Puerto Rican man telling me this.
Wow.
I'm like, no, you're Puerto Rican that doesn't read.
Right.
But Puerto Ricans read, and they also write.
Yeah. And look at this table.
And look at this table. This is proof.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then he had no choice but to say, you right, you right. At the end of the day, he left with a book because at the end of our conversation, he saw is like, you were programmed to think that we don't read and we don't write, but we do. And this is living proof. Take a book, read it, give yourself the same energy. Like when we go to school, we learn about all these other authors that are Eurocentric. You know, they make whole lessons off of them, right?
Yep.
We could do the same thing for our own books. That's why this workshop was created. That's why this mentorship program was created. And that's why I keep coming to this particular pop-up. It's because the same vision that you and I have is what keeps me coming here. Because why am I going to waste my time with someone who doesn't believe in what I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And that's why I keep coming here. You believe in what I do, and I believe in what you do. And I feel like we feed off of that from each other.
Absolutely. It's contagious.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you so much. This was, I don't know, I'm like a crybaby. I'm like fighting the tears because they're just, I don't know, like there's just, community is so strong. And, you know, no matter how many spaces we've lost, how many spaces they've kicked us out of, it never stops the blessings that are meant for us. And that's something that I can tell you and to all of the people that, you know, relate to who we are as women and Caribbean women, you know, you got to keep it pushing and you will find your tribe, you know, and I consider the Bushwick Vendors Market community to be a tribe, you know, and I'm super grateful to have you be a part of it. And I feel like we're going to do so much more amazing work.
We are.
As the time goes by. So, and I'm super honored to be able to sit with you in this beautiful setting with amazing footage that's going to come out of this that will be able to show, you know, the world what we do, and that you'll be able to also use it to brand yourself and to, you know, be able to reach bigger audiences that are meant to be, that you're meant to be seen by. So,
yes.
But, just tell them like how to follow you, any type of any way that people can just stay connected with you, so that way we can make sure that it's there.
Of course. I do want to say one thing before. I want to say, if you have an idea, just remember that, and this is what my mentor told me, if you get an idea, it's because someone believes in you so much that they're planting this little idea in your head, and it's for you only to make this a reality. That's why it's called your vision, right? And if you don't follow through with it, then it ends up becoming someone else's vision, and then you lose it, right? Have you ever created stuff and then someone else magically just happens, and you're like, I thought of that, right? So if you have a passion idea, follow it. Doesn't matter, like, if no one believes in it, it's your vision for a reason. And with that said, you could follow me on Instagram at Bodybooks and Cafe, or you could email me at bodybookscafe@gmail.com.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right, you guys, we're back at the Bushwick Vendors Market podcast here at Public Sound Studios. So we would like to now introduce Jordan, who has been one of the vendors who has been vending with us she's vended with us a few times.
Now.
Yeah. And she's our sweets and pastry vendor, like our main sweets and pastry vendor. She even has like, I always like hold her location when I'm around, like this is her slot. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, why you do what you do, how long you've been doing it, and like why you love it.
Yeah, so the bakery is called Sin and Sugar Bakery. A lot of people really like the name because it's the play on like sin and then sugar,
Mm-hmm.
and we have two of our main menus that are modeled after first the seven deadly sins, and then of course the seven heavenly virtues. So really going into that sin and sugar theme pretty heavily.
Mm-hmm.
We started the bakery in August of 2025, so we still are fairly new. We're coming up on our 1 year anniversary, which we're very excited for.
Oh.
Um, and it's just been sort of a whirlwind. I've always loved to bake, and it really started at my traditional 9 to 5, where I was able to bring in some just treats here and there for my office, and they all really loved them and told me that this was something that I should definitely pursue, which is how Sin and Sugar was born. And then just being able to kind of go on Instagram and find communities like Bushwick Vendor Market where we could go and just bring our treats to their community, to the world, was something that we really treasure and continue to treasure. I mean, we are scheduled to be here a couple months in the future, actually.
Yes. Yes.
um, so it's always been really great to be so welcomed in the Bushwick community through Bushwick Vendor Market, and seeing a lot of recurring customers coming through now, recurring vendors coming through, and starting to build that really foundation and community that a lot of small businesses really hope to get the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to do. So we are so grateful and thankful that we're able to do that.
Amazing. So your treats are, you lean towards vegan, right?
So we
Some
have
or
some vegan, some gluten free.
there
We
we go,
try
gluten free.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, we try to cater to all of the dietary restrictions and cater to everyone. So we have this motto of, if you come to our table, you will find at least one thing that you can definitely eat and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make sure we put as much flavor and deliciousness into each treat. So our vegan and gluten-free line came a little bit after the bakery was established, just because we really try to hit the books and test out different things, test out different flavor profiles to make sure that even though it's vegan, even though it's gluten free, it's still tasty to that person.
Mm-hmm.
I know with my own mother being gluten free, it's hard to find
Yeah.
quality and taste at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we really want to make sure we can bring that to everyone and make sure everyone feels included.
Mm-hmm. What does like baking make you feel, right? Because that's not it. That's it's not easy,
No.
especially on summer days.
Yeah,
You know,
it's hot. My kitchen's
yeah.
hot.
What does it do for you?
Baking is definitely an outlet for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can very much tune out and kind of really find the love for the mixing, the kneading, the filling, and the icing, and making sure everything looks just right. I can definitely be a perfectionist almost to a fault.
Mm-hmm.
So I love when my treats can kind of come out and be a creative, artistic outlet for me. When I went to college, I was an art major as well. So it's just another avenue for me to really design things and be artistic and kind of art in the way of food. I've always loved when I get to see people's reactions when they try something. So we
Mm-hmm.
always have free samples, because even if someone's not in the position to buy something, we want them to still feel happiness trying something that we've made.
Yes.
So it's always so lovely to see everyone's faces light up and them say, oh, this is actually really good. This is delicious. And it really does bring a smile to my face seeing that. Yeah.
Then the last question is, which I think is one of the important ones. Like I mentioned in the last interview, Bushwick Vendors Market is, a baby and growing in process. Even though we've been around for so long, we've been through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've been displaced, we've been kicked out, and we continue to keep pushing and thriving. So, there's always room for growth for us, which is what we're definitely market by market are trying to
Mm-hmm.
do and execute and use the proceeds that we have of that. So that we get to be able to, like today we have two young women that are out in the streets
Mm-hmm.
trying to push traffic. And why do you keep coming back? Like, why do you, there's, when you come, when you supporting something like this, you're supporting us also financially, right?
Yeah.
And although our proceeds do go to something amazing, like, why do you choose to keep coming back, even though we're still trying to figure out how to grow and be better and get more foot traffic?
So one of the biggest reasons why we keep coming back, with any small business, when you're starting out, you try a bunch of different things
Mm-hmm.
to see if it fits. We've tried a bunch of different markets. Some fit, some don't. That's just how it goes. With Bushwick, when we first did it, we felt so at home and so catered to and so welcomed that this was something where we sat and said, yes, so we're definitely going to be coming back. We're going to keep committing to this. We're going to keep submitting our applications, our funds for this, because we found something that's really hard to find with anyone, really. And it's a sense of community. It's a sense of a safe space to be that level of weird, if you are, be that level of creativity, and be welcomed into this particular community and environment. With Bushwick vendors, it's such a diverse array of vendors. We have things from us being the sweets vendor, we have things of painting, ceramics, hair products, so many different things that really bring together people, because you can walk into Bushwick Market going, I don't know if I really want to buy anything. Oh my gosh, wait, that's really cool. I love this art.
Yeah.
Actually, I needed something like this. This would be perfect in my house. So that's what we really like about Bushwick Vendor Market. It has so many different things that you cannot help but to come away with something that you're truly going to treasure. It's definitely nothing where it's like 3D printed, AI. It's authentic. It's authentic people coming together, showcasing their talents in a very unique way. With this new age of AI where it's hard to keep that genuine, it's very much needed. And with Bushwick, they are even expanding, and they have kids vending opportunities to really bring out the youth and get them into sort of like soft launching them into being in the job market, being a hustler, being someone who wants to work for themselves, and showing them that there are many different avenues to go when they get older, which is really great. And then coming up with your dog event and really celebrating dogs in a time that we really need it, and celebrating animals, because we are animal lovers over here. We are dog friendly. So it's just great to see how much you are expanding to, again, cater to everyone and cater to your community, and you are so in touch with the people who live here to know what's needed, to know that we need authenticity, genuine people here speaking to each other on a human to human level. And that's something that is hard to find nowadays and should very much be treasured.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The last thing is just tell them how can we follow you? How can we make
Yes.
sure that everybody that's watching this interview knows how to connect with you?
Yes, so you can definitely follow us on Instagram. It is sinandsugar.nyc. Since we are New York based, we are always active on Instagram. You will find all of our contact information in there. You'll find our order form. We are Queens based, but we do $3 delivery with a $20 minimum for the order. We are now doing custom orders, and we are also doing catering orders as well, and including cakes. So definitely feel free to reach out to us. We love connecting with as many people as possible. Definitely reach out to Bushwick Vendor Market, because most likely we will be here at their next event. So you will also find us there. And we love seeing our reoccurring customers. We have our new loyalty card. So if you do come out and find us, we will definitely give you one of those, and hope to see you at our other events.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Being a part of this. And I know I kind of did like a drive-by today. Like, hey, do you want to be a part of this
Yes.
podcast? My schedule has been so crazy that I had like 2 emails in draft that I never sent out. Like the day before yesterday, you were one of those people. I was like, I'll catch her the
worries.
day of. So thank you for being super spontaneous on the spot.
Of course.
You did great. And
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.